9 wins in a row, and suddenly the Denver Nuggets look like a real problem again. It's not just the results, it's how they're getting them. This is the version of Denver people expected from the start of the season. The floor spacing looks sharp, the intensity is back, and most importantly, their late game execution, which felt strangely unreliable for months, has completely flipped. Right now, they look almost unfair. Looking at their matchup against the Spurs, every time Nikola Jokic and Victor Wembanyama share the court, I keep circling back to one question: who's actually gaining more from these matchups? Most people would instinctively say Wembanyama. He's younger, incredibly gifted physically, and it feels logical that repeated exposure would help him figure Jokic out defensively over time. That makes sense in theory, but in reality, it might be the opposite. It genuinely feels like Jokic is the one benefiting more from these encounters, and the reason is simple. He processes the game like a machine. Against Wembanyama, Jokic is averaging 37.3 points per game, while posting a 58% effective field goal percentage. Even more telling, across 73 shot attempts with Wembanyama as the primary defender, he's producing 1.16 points per shot. That's elite efficiency. On top of that, Denver is 5-2 in those games. That's not just impressive, it's absurd. But the real issue isn't just Jokic scoring in isolation, although he absolutely has moments where he overpowers Wembanyama with strength and touch. The bigger problem is what happens when you factor in Jamal Murray, because once Denver flows into that deadly two-man game, everything starts to collapse. Wembanyama isn't just dealing with Jokic anymore. He's trying to cover multiple threats at once, and that's where San Antonio's defensive structure starts to crack. The Spurs' defensive scheme is actually pretty straightforward. You can almost split it into two parts: Wembanyama and everyone else. His responsibility is to lock down the paint, which he's done exceptionally well all season. Meanwhile, the other four defenders are focused on taking away the three-point line. That leaves one intentional gap, the mid-range area, and that's by design. It's typically the least efficient zone on the floor, so San Antonio is basically daring teams to win from there. The problem? Jokic is probably the worst possible player to challenge with that strategy. From short mid-range, he's not only among the highest volume shooters in the league at 6.7 attempts per game, ranking in the 100th percentile, but he's also converting those looks at a 58% rate, which puts him in the 90th percentile. That's basically automatic, and it doesn't stop there. From longer mid-range distances, he's taking 1.3 shots per game, 93rd percentile, and hitting them at 57%, which lands in the 92nd percentile. At that point, those shots are almost as efficient as layups, and when a defense is built around giving that up, Jokic turns it into a fatal flaw. And that's exactly why San Antonio's defensive approach becomes so punishing in this matchup. The entire system is built around protecting the paint and chasing shooters off the three-point line, basically inviting teams to settle for tough off-the-dribble mid-range shots. Against most opponents, that's a winning formula more often than not. But against Nikola Jokic, it plays right into his hands. When Victor Wembanyama is involved in defending that two-man action, his instinct is to sink back when Jamal Murray attacks downhill, prioritizing the rim. The problem is, the moment he does that, Murray can slip a pass right into Jokic in the middle, and at that point, you're giving one of the most efficient scorers in the league exactly the look he wants. That's why this isn't really about Wembanyama making mistakes. He's being forced into an impossible decision: take away a layup from Murray, or give up a near-automatic mid-range shot to Jokic. There's no real win there. Once Denver gets into that Murray-Jokic pick and roll, the pressure becomes overwhelming. If Wembanyama drops to contain Murray, Jokic is left wide open in his comfort zone if he stays higher to contest Jokic. Murray is suddenly barreling toward the rim with an advantage. That's the dilemma in its purest form. And to put things in perspective, metrics from Crafted NBA have Wembanyama graded in the 100th percentile defensively. He's a generational presence on that end. Yet even he can't consistently disrupt this action once Denver gets it flowing. Then Denver added another layer late in the game that completely tilted things in their favor: inverted pick and rolls. When Jamal Murray starts setting the screen for Jokic, it throws the Spurs into a tough spot. They don't want to switch and leave a smaller defender on Jokic, so they try to keep Wembanyama attached. But that hesitation creates just enough confusion. Two defenders momentarily focused on the same threat, and Denver is far too sharp not to exploit it. That's how Murray ends up with a wide open corner three to grab the lead late in the fourth. And on the final possession of regulation, they go back to it again, this time with Aaron Gordon setting the screen. Both defenders collapse toward Jokic, leaving Gordon completely unguarded for the game-tying bucket. That's the scary part about this team. When you zoom out, this isn't just about Jokic versus Wembanyama. It's about the entire Denver ecosystem. The second you commit extra attention to the Murray-Jokic action, everyone else becomes a threat. Aaron Gordon is either cutting to the rim or spacing out to the corner. Cam Johnson has been on fire lately, and Christian Braun is more than capable of knocking down open looks if you lose track of him. That's what made this game such a clear reminder of how dangerous Denver is at full strength. You're not defending one action. You're trying to survive wave after wave of options. And Aaron Gordon deserves a lot of credit in all of this. He's the connective piece that makes everything work. Offensively, he's developed into a reliable floor spacer, now hitting 39% from 3 this season after putting in serious work on that part of his game. But his value goes beyond shooting. He creates space with his vertical threat as a lob finisher, thrives in the dunker spot, and can even take advantage of mismatches in the post. He's not just filling a role, he's actively making life easier for everyone else on the floor. On the defensive end, Aaron Gordon is just as important. He's the piece that keeps Denver afloat long enough for their offense to take over. His versatility is huge. He can switch across almost any matchup. Well, late in that Spurs game, you could see it clearly. He held his own against De'Aaron Fox, came up with key stops on Victor Wembanyama, and even battled effectively against Stephon Castle. There aren't many players in the league who can credibly guard 1 through 5 like that, and the numbers back it up in a big way. When it's just Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray on the floor, Denver is still dominant. A plus 11.8 net rating with a 130.1 offensive rating, but defensively, they're giving up 118.3 points per 100 possessions, which is shaky. Now add Aaron Gordon into that mix and everything changes. The net rating jumps to plus 19.5. The offense somehow gets even better at 133.9, and defensively they tighten up to 114.4, which is more than solid considering how unstoppable they are on the other end. That's really the blueprint for Denver. So they don't need to be an elite defensive team, they just need to be good enough, because once that Murray-Jokic two-man game starts clicking and the role players are capitalizing off the attention it draws, the offense becomes overwhelming. At that point, a few timely stops are all it takes to put games out of reach. Then you look at the Portland game, and it showed the other side of this team. It wasn't pretty at all, but they still found a way. With about 7 minutes left, Denver was down 14, and it wasn't like they were playing poorly. Portland was just unconscious. They set a franchise record for made threes. Toumani Camara couldn't miss, knocking down 8. Drew Holiday looked like his Milwaukee version again. Donovan Clingan hit 3. Matisse Thybulle added 4. Every time Denver tried to make a push, so Portland answered with another tough 3. But once the starters came back in during the fourth, things started to settle. It begins with the basics. Murray coming off a handoff from Jokic. The defense shifts, and suddenly there's a lane for Jokic off the bounce pass. Then Denver flips it. Inverted pick and roll. Murray sets the screen, forcing a switch that leaves Jokic with a mismatch on Camara. No help comes, and it's an easy bucket. Next possession, same action. Murray curls off Jokic, and the defense completely opens up, straight path to the rim. Portland tries adjusting, putting Drew Holiday on Jokic. The double comes, but Cam Johnson makes them pay with a huge 3. Then when the offense stalls and Murray runs out of space, Johnson again makes a smart cut at the perfect moment, finding Gordon wide open from deep. Tie game. But just over a minute left. Out of the inbound, Jokic finds Murray, who immediately curls off an Aaron Gordon screen. That forces Gordon's defender to step up, leaving him open again, and he drills it. Foot was on the line, so it counts for 2, but still a massive shot. Portland answers right back, with Denny Avdija driving and finishing to tie it at 125. Then chaos. Under 20 seconds left, Jokic misses a hook he usually makes, then misses the tip, and you'd expect him to convert every time. Just like that, it's overtime for the second straight game. And in OT, Denver takes control. Portland sends another double at Jokic. Gordon is left open again, and he buries the 3. On the break, Jokic finds him in the corner. Holiday flies out to contest, Gordon pump fakes, Thybulle rotates over, and that leaves Jamal Murray wide open, another 3. And now it's a 6-point game. From there, it's the Jokic and Murray show closing it out. Dribble handoff, Murray all the way to the rim for a dunk. Next trip, the defense collapses on Murray. He finds Jokic, and somehow Jokic flips it in with 0.1 2.1 on the shot clock. That comeback mattered, because those are the exact kinds of games Denver had been dropping earlier in the season. This isn't random, it's a sign. This team is rediscovering who they are when the stakes rise. Late game execution is back. Jokic is once again controlling everything, especially with a renewed focus on operating out of the post. He looks like he's gearing up for another playoff run. Murray, even when his shot isn't falling, keeps making the right reads over and over again. Aaron Gordon's return brings back that balance and connectivity. And Cam Johnson is finally starting to look like the player they envisioned when they brought him in. Everything is clicking, and it's happening at the perfect time. And speaking of players heating up, I just dropped a breakdown on Cooper Flagg and the tear he's been on lately. If you want to see what's driving his surge, check that out and head next. I'll catch you over there.